that. He is host of Vital Health Radio with his co-host, Dr. Green. He is also host, and we're going to talk about his podcast a little bit because some of that's transferred to, I think, the Holistic Navigator, but a lot of it can be found at nutritionw.com because he owns Nutrition World as well. Let's bring him up. His name is Ed Jones, and he's coming up in 3, 2, 1. What's up, man?
Hey, my friend, it's all good.
How's life?
Up and down, like all people. Most people lie about it. I don't. I say it's up, it's down, but most of the time I'm treading water pretty dang well.
Well, my commitment is we're going to keep this one to about 15 minutes or so-ish because I'm a hard out, and I know you're busy too. But I want to just say this right now. You're officially a bodybuilder.
I guess you could say that. I only waited 65 years to do this, but I did fully enjoy it.
Timing's everything. Timing's everything.
Well, especially when you're in the fourth quarter, at the end of the fourth quarter of your life, and you're not sure if you're going to get any extra time, you better do what you need and what you've always wanted to do. And I do it, say my friends have been influential in pushing me into it because it was an easy way to quit because I had some hip issues that were still occurring, and I could have easily quit, but I'm so thrilled. I went to the Chattanooga Fitness and Sean and all the people in Vascular Institute. It was an amazingly well-run show, very efficient, nothing like the old days of sitting there till 11 o'clock while hundreds of people went by the stage. I just can't say enough. I had a wonderful time.
Yeah, I was there. I had a bunch of, not a bunch. I had quite a few friends in it. Mandy was in it, looked great. I know Jody Sullins, he looked fantastic. And there's 2 or 3 other people up there that I'm going to forget to name names. But my buddy Chuck Carter, Bruce Dodd was up there. But my buddy Chuck Carter is a good friend of mine. I've known Chuck for over 20 years. And he's a hardcore type A person. And he looked fantastic that night. And you're right, Sean and Tracy and Matt and Darren all collaborated to put on a great show. I went to the pre-judging, and it was fantastic. And you look great. Hey, I want to, before we jump into podcast stuff, I saw a picture of you on social media out in like a field. You were like in a farm. You want to give everybody are you a farmer now?
Again, it's on my bucket list. And the only reason, and I don't have any true passion for farming, but I now have a passion for what we call regenerative farming. Most of us know about Dr. Axe. Well, Dr. Axe and Jordan Rubin, who was the original founder of Garden of Life supplement company, and he sold it for huge amounts of money. His passion the rest of his life is to try to teach the world and hopefully set an example of how we can quit destroying the soil and the atmosphere by embracing new farming methods. I know nothing about farming till I went to Missouri 4 weeks ago. They paid for my whole trip because they feel like we have a platform that is going to spread this word. And they own Ancient Nutrition Supplement Company, and they own these farms, one in Franklin, Tennessee, and one in Missouri. I could not believe the real science behind. We have to quit plowing fields that dig deep holes into the dirt, which is what all conventional farming does, destroys the soil. It changes the carbon dioxide and the oxygen ratios to a point where it's destructive to everything. And we're raping the soil by this method. And regenerative farming does it totally different. They only go down 2 inches when they plow the field. They use cows and cows' feet to go in and work the soils. They rotate crops the way they're supposed to be, the way nature intended it. The foods are so much more high quality. They're cleaner. And the soils, if you do it like this, the soils will never quit being good soil. We have a limited time with the methods we're using now. In another not that many generations, we won't be able to grow anything because right now we're struggling with all the chemicals they're using. Those chemicals are going to quit working because we're doing it all wrong. Well, I sent you a link to your email for this podcast that I talked to him on regenerative farming. So if you wanted to post it later, you can.
Oh, 100% I'll post it because what's going to happen is it'll all be grown. It'll grow in test tubes and in warehouses somewhere or manufacturing things. And we forget sometimes. I can't speak to how they do it, and I want to get into a little bit of that more, but the field rotation, something that has been around for a while because farmers understood that just like in anything in life, you need to break, your body needs a break, your mind needs a break, everything needs a break, right? the soil that you're planting stuff in also needs time to recuperate and regenerate and have a break from stuff too. And like you said, we just sometimes, I think we've forgotten best practice.
Well, they didn't even, the thing is, conventional farmers don't even know what this practice is because it's been going on so long because it did work for 50 years or 60 or 70. It is destructive because we now know better. But the
Yeah.
way that the system's built is for profit only, not for longevity. And it's really a chaos and it's sad. And I'm hoping that Jordan Rubin and Dr. Axe and Ancient Nutrition is going to be able to spread the word.
Okay, so are they growing just like normal vegetables? Are they being specific about one or two things? And are they doing food or food and supplements? Or tell me what they're pulling off of their property, if you don't mind me asking.
Well, they are using some of these foods to produce some of their green powders, which I drink their green powder now. I want you to try it one day, Clint. I love the powders, the green powders that you and I've been on for years. But Ancient Nutrition, I've kind of switched to their new one because I
And you
just
carry it?
love. We carry it. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's reasonably priced. It tastes better than the other one. I'm still going to drink the other off and on, but their greens is going to be my new go-to because it just tastes so much better.
Okay, but
But
they
but
are
but
growing
but
real
also
food.
but they're growing all real foods. They're growing tons of totally true grass-fed beef. That has to be cautious because many people just they throw grass at a cow for a week and call it grass-fed. These people are ethical. They do it exactly the right way, and it's just amazing. It's miraculous, and I'm not going to be here that long on this earth, but you know what? My grandkids will be. I want my grandkids and everybody's grandkids to be able to have the kind of foods that this earth can produce, but it's getting less and less because we're destroying the quality of the soil. And we have to have the mixture of, and again, the movie, The Biggest Little Farm, you have to watch that movie. Have to. This is a couple who went out and bought basically barren red clay and did what Jordan Rubin and Dr. Axe have done with soils. And it's based on a synchronicity and a balance between all components of nature. This is not organic, people. It's clean. It is not using chemicals, but just organic food is not getting the job done. That's not protecting the soils. Regenerative farming is. So if you go to nutritionw.com and scroll down, you can see Jordan Rubin and myself talk about this, or you're going to post the link on your site.
I am. I'm going to post it. And I want to touch base on podcasts, but because we have a kind of a hard out. I want to. Well, let's touch on that real quick. The Holistic Navigator is still up and running, but are you now putting most of your content over on nutritionw.com? Are you transitioning? Are they both still viable places for people to go? Tell everybody that so people can go find your
Well,
stuff.
the Holistic Navigator is somewhat of my legacy. It's the things I've learned over 43 years that you can't find very many places anymore. Now that Dr. McCullough is not accessible and Dr. Axe has a really good site, but there's not much because the media, the social media, and the Googles are being so controlled and censored in our industry that you type in, like I typed in the word, the dangers of DEET for mosquitoes and ticks, the spray. It's neurologically damaging our children, and I couldn't find anything on it till page 16. Used
Right.
to 4 or 5 years ago, it'd have been every other article had been the dangers of DEET, the benefit of DEET, the dangers of it. It gave you the big picture. You don't get the big picture. You get censored pictures. And so we have to be able to access this world of information. And that's what I do on the Holistic Navigator. We just posted one on vaccines from a lady Barbara Lou Fisher, I've trusted for 35 years. But nutritionw.com is now where we're going to go for more current and more interesting and more interviews with real experts and topics that we need to know. It won't be the encyclopedia. The Holistic Navigator is the encyclopedia. You got constipation, you don't want to use drugs, and you want to learn options, go to the Holistic Navigator. Libido, depression, anxiety, sleep, you name it, it's on there if you want to learn
Inflammation.
something new.
Yeah,
Inflammation,
inflammation
and
is one.
it is, and that's what's creating fast aging. If you're not a seeker and you're not a learner, then just ignore it and just keep on treading water, and we'll hope that everything turns out. But if you are a person who understands the broken system in the medical system right now, which is we're going to talk about why I have a new physician here because
I got it
he's
right
also
here.
disenchanted.
We're
Yep.
good.
Uh, we're the go-to place.
I'll say this: I'm such a seeker that I came in and spent my I resupplied and got a couple extra new things. You guys gave me a fancy bag. I told your manager, I said I must have spent over the threshold. They're like, yeah, dude, today you're getting the nice bag, and I said, okay, well, good. Let's transition now that you covered the podcast. You do have Brian Johnson, and it's Vital Life Medical Care, but you were super stoked when I came in the other day. You got a minute or two or three. Tell everybody what this means for you and why you're so excited about it.
Look, I've known Dr. Johnson for a good 5 years. He is from the traditional medical system, 25 years of extensive experience treating almost everything. But his heart was broke because he saw the limitations of the toolbox that he was given in both medical school and in the hospital settings and in the corporate setting. And he just simply said, I can't keep doing this. The dangers of pharmaceutical drugs at the level they're prescribed, he said, I cannot keep doing it. But yet, if he stayed at work, he would have to. He came to me some time ago and said, is there any way we could form a partnership between myself and an integrative physician, which is what he's board certified in now, and Nutrition World? Well, it took about 15 synchronicity things to happen, which is amazing, all the things that had to roll and take place for our partnership. He's here. He started this week, packed with patients. He only works Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And the first patient who went to see him came over here almost with tears in her eyes and said, I have never been to anyone who listened as carefully and focused on me in my whole life as Dr. Johnson, and gave the best advice, and she's going to keep coming back. Integrative physicians is not for acute care. It isn't for when you have a sore throat or a strained ankle or something else. It's for people who have chronic conditions who no one's figured out. And he's a detective. He's going to look deep. He's not going to patch it with a symptomatic pharmaceutical, which buys you time, and it's kind of like putting a piece of tape on the red light on your dashboard. He's going to find the real reason and then heal from that angle, which is the only way you can truly heal anyway.
Well, one thing I like about what you just said is and you've always done this, and you've been really good. By the way, Lynn Bird says great show. Thanks, Lynn. I'm glad you chimed in. Lynn's a great guy, and I've known him for a long time. But one thing I like about what you said is that you always leave room for each place to have their own role to play in our health. You've never said, I've never really heard you talk about how bad you talk about the system, but the people involved in the medical system, how they have a role. When you have acute pain, if something's broke, if you're in the middle of a heart attack, there are things that are happening in your life that you need to be at a doctor, a professional for. And that's why I like you've always made room, but it should be the team. That's why it's the holistic part of it. It's more than one component that makes up a happy, healthy life.
Has to be. And I wouldn't want to be in a world without the regular GPs, because they are trained for acute care, which means something happens right now. Help me. I'm feeling bad. I'm hurting. I'm inflamed. There's nothing wrong with that. I love and I will use pharmaceuticals in the short run. It's when that goes on and on and on, and you keep sliding down this slippery slope of worse health and more symptoms, and the more drugs cause more side effects. Then you get drowning in all of this. And where do you go? Because the Chattanooga people, the United States people, they don't know they have an option. And Dr. Brian is reasonably priced. I'm telling you, I've never seen a physician with
Well, I
the
mean, am
prices
I allowed to
low.
read what's on your flyer? I mean,
Absolutely.
on your flyer, it says right here, book a discovery visit for $99 at vitallifemedicalcare.com. I mean, that's pretty
Yes.
reasonable for you to have a sit down with a doctor and say, this are my one or two conditions, whatever my issues are, and them and him, their team to make a say, okay, here's what we think we can help with. This is what we would recommend. What's next? That's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. And to come back, it's still under $200 a visit. So there's no one ever priced themselves this value priced. I just know that this guy's going to be booked up for months once they get momentum going, which will take about 6 months.
Yeah.
But he's going to rock and roll, rock and roll.
I also know this. You have events coming up, and let me just go ahead and plug a few of them. On June 20th, you have natural heartburn relief options. The 27th, it is Casella. Did I get that right?
Cecilia is for
Cecilia.
posture. It's an at-home device that has been around for many years. Incredible for actually makes you taller because it makes us stand up straighter. If you
Oh,
do 20 minutes every night, you will be able to measure yourself and you're a half an inch taller. But
I'll,
aches and pains, hip pains, I am terrible. I'm like, I really feel like I'm good at giving advice and I'm very poor at following my own. I have a Cecilia at home. My hip hurts and I don't do it. So smack me. I'm sorry. I can only do so many things, but this stuff is
I
miraculous.
have horrible
And it's
hips.
free.
I have
Yeah.
horrible hips. I'm gonna come. I might come to that one. Then you have one on August 18th. I know it's way out there, but I love this one. Essential oils for your medicine cabinet. Also, you do blood work quite a bit. Now, my question, and we'll wrap it up with this. From now on, the blood panels you do, I think it's every Tuesday and then the last Friday of every month. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct. Normally, this week coming up, it will be Monday because I had to go out of town. But normally, every Tuesday and the last Friday of every month.
Okay. So you do panels. You can get all kinds of blood work and panels done. When they come and get the blood work, and this is just me not knowing how you've set up the processes. That stays with you. You will sit down with people if they want to and go over that with them. Or are you going to be working in conjunction with the doctor saying, here's their blood work if they come back to you? Or is that something you've not established yet?
Well, what's so cool, Clint, is it's starting to really ripple. So it depends on the client. And one is if I'm sitting down with them or one of my three coaches, they're signing a form that says we're not your doctor. We're not treating your medical condition. We're here to empower your health. When we want someone like Dr. Johnson or maybe Josh downstairs at the hormone clinic, then we will partner with them and then they get the blood work, they review it, they sit down. This is a team effort. That's the only
Perfect.
way you can have superior health is have a team.
That's perfect. That's kind of why I was hoping your answer was. I would hate for her to ask that and you go, no, man, we don't have nothing to do with them. Why are you asking that stupid question, Clint? That makes me feel pretty smart. All right, nutritionw.com, theholisticnavigator.com, Vital Health Radio with you and Dr. Green. It comes on every Sunday morning on 98.1 The Lake at 9 a.m., sir. Is that right? Or 8
9
a.m.?
a.m.
9
Yes,
a.m., yeah.
9 a.m.
Anything you want to say before we jump off this? I think this has been a fun one, man. We squeezed a bunch into 17 minutes and
We did.
49 seconds.
Well, I'll tell you this. My daughter just showed me this. And you can't see on the here. This is a new way to repel mosquitoes in your picnic table and behind your house or wherever you're sitting. And they do not have the bad chemicals. And it's like incense. And she's been using them and said zero mosquitoes when she does it because it's not toxic like the other stuff. I just
Well,
love this.
and your daughter she's also got a group page on Facebook, but your daughter is, let me tell you, if it's got a chemical in it and you're breathing it, rubbing it on you, or drinking it, she's going to tell you how not to do that and the natural thing to put in its place.
Absolutely, and I'm not a purist as much as she is, but cologne is my weakness actually, and I know how toxic regular bad cologne is, but that's about the only thing I use. Everything else is pretty
I
chemical
know so.
free,
I know so. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
and baby formula is her expertise. And she's been giving her two kids baby formula that came from a 1980 government study that says this is what babies need. Corn syrup is the first ingredient in all the three brands that are sold. And the baby formula industry is basically a mafia because no one can come out with any other brand because they got legislation that says we're the only game in town. That'd be like Chevrolet saying we're the only car manufacturer. It's critically unfair. Other countries are allowing better quality foods. Our country will not. But you can make your own through these 11 different ingredients. You put them all together based in government research. This is not something anyone just came up with.
I hate those kind of government implementations unless it's around podcasts and they want to say during the break is the only podcast people can listen to, or maybe the Holistic Navigator, and then we'll take that one if the
Yeah.
government wants to jump in and say it. I want to say this as we leave. I don't believe you told me the truth. I do believe there's one more chemical that you like, sir.
Well, I wouldn't call agave plant is not a chemical. It is
Tequila.
natural. It's natural. Forget that.
Okay, regenerative tequila. That's what you're going to start a
Yeah.
farm for. Hey, Ed Jones, thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely. Good job at the show, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.